What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another day in Car Mechanic Simulator with me, the Virtual Mechanic, and today's project we are going to get on and finally get this Suzuki SX4 done. This is the lit edition with just over 80,000 kilometers on there. We got it from the auction. Obviously, it's pretty much where I buy all my cars these days. Not too bad. Frame's only at 50%, body's pretty low, but the rest of it isn't too bad at all. We didn't get a good deal, sadly. 17,622 is what we spent on this car buying it, and we could only sell it for 13,851, losing out on 3,771. Before we start, hopefully we'll be able to claw that one back later on in the video. This has the i4 double overhead cam at 4x4 engine with 308 factory horsepower. We will be putting performance parts on that one and trying to make it look as cool as we can today, hopefully with some nice cool colors. Let's get stuck into it, though. It is pretty awesome. I do quite like this. It's the lit edition. It's not really the coolest car in the world, but a couple of my friends have owned some that did look pretty awesome. So let's get stuck in. Let's get this one over to the car wash and get it cleaned up. Here we are then at the car wash. There's a bit of burgundy on the door there. Is that the colour is going to be underneath all this grime and dust? Let's find out. What colour are you? Definitely looking very... It is a sort of burgundy plum colour. Not a bad colour at all, actually. I quite like that, but probably not what we're going to stick with today. We shall see. Let's get the interior done. Let's get it back on the lift and get that engine ripped out. It's up in the air. Let's check for the oil pan. Is it in there? That does look like it is in there, so let's get that all drained out before we carry on. Over you go. Drain you go. Quite a lot of it, and it's very dark and dirty in there. Not the nicest looking at all. Let's get underneath and let's see what we've got going on. Struggling to get to the drive shaft. Let's get the drive shaft out. Out you come. You can see a little bit of the exhaust there. Not quite perfectly lining up, which is a bit of a shame, but these things happen when you're trying to get things lining up perfectly. I don't know all that well, but I do know from making my configs that sometimes it is a challenge. Right, well, this being a four-wheel drive, we need to get these wheels off before we get this front axle out, so let's crack on with that. I'll be back in just a second. That's the front wheels off, the drive axles out. Let's get this front drive shaft out of here. And then I think we have to go back topside to get the starter out, which we do. So I'll crack on and get that done. Then we'll get this gearbox out. There we go. That's the starter out. Let's get this gearbox out. You'd think the amount of times I've done this, I would remember to take the starter out first. But sadly not. I did forget. What else do we reckon we'll need? Front exhaust section will take you out as well, just to be on the safe side. That should be enough to get it out, so let's go over and see if we can get that engine out of there. Over you go. You're down on the ground, and let's give that a bash. There we go. Nice and easy. That's what I'm talking about. Let's check out what we got going on in this engine bay then. So we've got the wishy-washy reservoir, power steering reservoir, lovely little fuse box there, coolant reservoir, a brake servo, ABS pump, and a module hiding behind there. Little battery up here. And then the air filter and all its coverings, plus a radiator at the fan housing kit. And then down here, we've got a large intercooler just to finish it all off. I think that should be it. Let's just go and grab the fuel pump out of the fuel tank and get back down the front, hopefully. Nice. Very easy on this one. Where can we find a good spot? I reckon this will do to drain all of the liquids. You know the drill by now. Right-click, additional tools, drain tool, click on hold, and I'll be back in just a couple of moments. That's all the liquids drained out. Let's start ripping some of this out. We'll start with the battery, and I will remember to throw that one on charge. We'll get the clips off of this air filter and get this one out of here. If I remember correctly, this is the air filter that doesn't paint overly well, so you can't get awesome colours on it. But we shall see a little bit later on when we're over at the paint shop. Out with the coolant reservoir, out with the brake servo. Let's get this ABS pump and module out. You come. Nice and easy. 1 and 2. Get the fuse box cover off. Check out the fuses in there. Yeah, they are lovely fuses. They are all in there as well. Out with the power steering pump. Out with the wishy-washy reservoir. And then out with this fan housing kit and the radiator. And that should be all of it. We'll just have a quick double check. See if we can notice anything that was missing. Doesn't look like it. We can't get this out till we're under the car a bit later on. So let's go check out these front wheel setups then. We know we've got the drive axle and the wheel. So that was on there. We do have the inner and outer tie rod, the sway bar end link, and we've got the hub, the bearing, sorry, not the hubcap. It doesn't get one because of the drive axle. Just a lower wishbone on there, and we've got the shock and the the sway bar end link. Both rubber bushings are in there on this side. Let's just check the other side very quickly. Both rubber bushings. No, yes, Looked like one was missing there. We got the bearing, we got the inner and outer tie rod, and the sway bar end link. Ideal. Let's go down the back and see what we got going on down here. Off with this big old rear wheel. Out you come. Get out of my way, Adam, as you say on the wheel there. Let's go. So we got disc brakes. We do have a rear drive axle, as it is four-wheel drive. We do have both the bushings on this side, the sway bar end link, the whole spring setup there, the shock, and all of the arms, plus the extra rubber bushing. On the other side, we've got the rubber bushing. We've got both the rubber bushings, the spring setup, everything like that. The sway bar end link, that all looks complete, which is pretty fantastic. Very pleased with that. I'm going to jump on and get the rest of this stripped out, get this engine stripped down. Then we'll work on this beautiful Suzuki's bodywork before we head over to the paint shop today. That's everything repaired, replaced, or upgraded, ready to go back on the Suzuki SX4. Let's get this body all stripped down, starting with the hood, out with the lights. Come on, let's just go. Little tiny front end on there as well, nicely done. Out with the windshield. Is that a piece? No, that's part of the frame, obviously. There we go, little side skirt down there. Little door, off you come. What else have we got? Rear lights, left body window A. Okay, fair enough, tiny little window there. Never mind, on we go, back around. That looks to be the lot of it there. Let's just get this interior out. That is a terrible place to leave myself. Just the one front seat. The back seats are obviously part of the framework there. So I think that's it. Let's have a check. 1%. That's a good sign. Nothing on there. We have got everything. So let's go grab the welder. Now, I bought this for about 17,500. And it's about 50%. I'm going to say 1,200. 500. Still pretty bad at this, but let's check out the shop for the body parts for this Suzuki. Here we go. So we've got a couple of different spoiler options. And again, a no spoiler choice there. Excellent work, Lit. Well done. A couple of side skirts on there. A few different bumper options to play around with and front end options to play around with. I'm definitely going to go for one of these blacked out grills there. They look pretty cool. Just the one door and the one fender on there. So let's carry on around. Two hoods to play with. A couple of different headlight options and tail light options. Two bumpers. One's got no image, so I'll check on that one in just a moment. A couple of doors, windows, more headlights. Let's carry on. And a few different trunk options. Definitely going to swap it to one of the ones with the blacked out badges on there. That's pretty cool. So not too much on there. Not too bad at all. I'm going to go repair some bits. Probably buy everything else because I think I'm going to need quite a lot for this one. And then we'll get it all back together before we head over to the paint shop. Time to get this little Suzuki all back together then, and let's go. Let's just crack on. You can see I've changed the hood. I've gone for the hood B there with some little cutout vents, looking pretty sweet. Front end, I did swap to this one that's got just an extra plastic trim across the bottom there. Looking pretty good. Kept the headlights as they were, just went straight back on. They are the B headlights. And the bumper I went for is the B bumper. It's got a couple of little vent holes or mesh bits there. I don't quite know what they're doing, but they looked pretty sweet, so we put them on. On with the fenders, they are no options, just what they are. In with the windshield, on you go, and the doors are also just no option, just they are what they are, along with the mirrors and windows. So let's just get all of them in along here. Nice and easy, in you go. Then we got the side skirt part, side skirt part. I went for the B parts. They're slightly bigger, looking pretty sweet. On you go, let's just get that back up there. Tail lights I kept as they were, but they are the B tail lights. The trunk, I went for the debadged of the side badges, but blacked out on the Suzuki logo there. Looking pretty sweet. Rear bumper, now there are two. One with no image and one with an image. They both come out exactly the same. Doesn't matter which one you buy, so don't worry about that. On that goes. Get the other tail light in there. We'll get this window in, and obviously you can see the giant spoiler. I went for C part number, which has got a top lip there, and then the big old wing sticking out the back there. Looking pretty sweet. Let's carry on. Let's move on and around. Let's get all this bodywork all finished up. On you go. On you go. And yes, that part was blue because it was a repaired part. That is all of the bodywork on, I think. Let's just get the interior in. Oh, before we jump into the interior, I've just remembered I haven't bought a steering wheel. So let's just go and grab a steering wheel. I reckon there's something a bit modern, but a bit sporty nonetheless. Steering wheel 10, I reckon. That one there. In you go. So now let's go and get the interior in. Because I had forgotten the steering wheel. So we'll throw that steering wheel in, and then we'll throw my Nismo seats in, because it had to be Nismo seats, realistically, didn't it? Very low down in there, but I quite like it. It seems to sit with a very low drive height. Probably how my friends who used to drive these actually drove them. That's all of the bodywork on. Let's just get these plates on. I've gone for VM plates as normal, just with SX4 written on them. Looking pretty sweet. Front and back, on you go. And let's just check we have got everything. onto this screen. 100%, 100%, 100%. Absolutely fantastic. Now, there are no liveries with this one today, but I have made one. So we're going to go over to the paint shop. We're going to check that out, and we're going to see which colour we're going to go for on this beautiful bodywork today. Here she is then. I said I'd created a livery. I've just gone for some basic black racing stripes with some checkered flag details, finishing it off on the front, going into a checkered roof up there, looking pretty awesome. And then down the side, we've just got this little stripe detail with a bit of checkered coming off of it. I think it looks pretty cool. And this is the color we're going for. This sort of baby blue-ish color, brightness down to about 80%. It is looking pretty awesome. I am very pleased with this. It is already painted, ready to go. So let's just come out of there and see what we've got going on. Very blue in there, but also quite a bit of black as well. So we've got some colors to play around with. Also a splash of maybe an in-betweeny orange, because you've got like a deep red on there and a light orange. So maybe something in between there to sort of fine-tune a few of the details. I think this is pretty cool, looking pretty sweet. Very pleased with this one. Just a simple little livery thrown together in a few minutes. There is a template included in the files, so if you want to make your own, it is very quick and easy to do so. That's what we're going to go with. I'm going to get some bits painted, get this one back on the lift, and start getting all the suspension reassembled before we move on to that little four-wheel drive engine. That's everything painted, ready to go back on our little SX4. Let's get these shocks together. Over we go. So we got blue shocks and orange springs on here. Quite dark on the orange, but looking pretty cool. Quite pleased with them. Let's go get some of this on the car and see how it all looks together. Starting with the front suspension Crossmember, we've got that one in a blue to go in with the top of the engine bay, which is blue, and then it goes black, and then back to blue underneath. Pretty sweet. Let's just get these rubber bushings in. On you go, and on you go. And we'll also get the large intercooler in while we are here. Nicely done. Then we'll go with the lower suspension arm. I have just done this one in a black. It sort of goes with the livery with the blackness of the checkered board pattern sort of thing. Then the shocks, we've already seen them in their blue and orange, looking pretty sweet. Quite pleased with them, looking great. And then the brake caliper, on you go, in an orange that does match that spring there. Looking absolutely fantastic. Let's get the sway bar end link on, just so we don't forget it, because I know what I'm like. And the last piece to go in is the drive axle that can't go in until the engine and gearbox are in. So that's it for the front end. Let's jump down the back and see what we got going on down here. I've got most of it on. Let's just start with the main Crossmember. I have done that one in a matching blue, just to look awesome. Let's get that sway bar link on there, and then the sway bar end link as well, along with these little rubber bushings up here, so that I don't forget these as well. On you go, and on you go. Pretty sweet. Then for some of the arms, so this lower arm down here, we've got this one in a black. Sort of goes with the lower arm at the front, which is also black. Then the lower suspension arm on the back, matching in the black there, so we got black lower down across the front and back, looking pretty sweet, matching up pretty well. Spring cap in the blue to match with the shock. We got orange onto the blue there, and then we've also got a light blue shock as well to completely match with the shock. Pretty sweet. I think that's looking good. Let's get that rear drive axle in, as it's now popped up. There we go. And we'll go for this upper arm, which is in orange, for a splash more of this down here, just for good measure. Not too much, though, so it's not in your face, just enough that you can see it's there. And then this side arm is also in the orange as well, looking pretty awesome. Quite pleased with this back end setup, along with the front end. I think it's looking pretty sweet. Hardly any orange on the front there, but just a tiny little bit more on the back. And then obviously that orange rear brake caliper to go on as well. In my opinion, I've done fantastically with the colour matching on them oranges today. That is looking pretty awesome. I need to get on and get all of the rest of this suspension all finished up, including this fuel tank and fuel pump. I'll get all of the exhaust set up in and the rest of this all finished up. I'll meet you back at the engine bay in just a few minutes, but we'll get that all back together before we head over and get that beautiful inline 4x4 engine all built up, ready to go. I think that blue and orange looks absolutely fantastic. Very pleased with that. What do you guys think? Do let me know in the comments. But let's move on. Let's get this engine bay all sorted. We'll just start throwing stuff back in. Let's get the radiator in with the fan housing kit. On you go. We got the wishy-washy reservoir up here. In you go. Power steering reservoir. Then we got a brake servo, a coolant reservoir, and I did manage to pick up my battery. On you go, back in 100% now, all fully charged. ABS pump and the module in here as well. In you go. Nicely done. And then we've just got a few coloured bits to go in. Now, sadly, I did say at the beginning, this air filter base is the one I don't think paints well at all. It doesn't. it just accepts black. So black is what it went. It does sort of fit with the body anyway, so it's pretty good. And then we've just got some lovely little orange clips on here just to finish this one off, as there isn't that much orange going on inside the engine bay. Well, there isn't. We do also have the fuse box. I have done that one in orange. I'm just going to step away and show you it so you can see. You can see the fuse box there just shining off in its orange. And you can just about see the orange clips on that air intake looking pretty sweet. That's pretty much it for the engine bay. Just got to finish off this fuse box, so I'll crack on with that. Then we're going to go build that engine. There it is then, the block and oil pan, both in that blue, ever so slightly different, but that was really hard to match up. But then you do have the arms that are a bit lighter on the outside here. Looking a pretty sweet though. Let's start with some of this front stuff. Let's just get some of these parts in. I've done the water pump in orange just because I could. It is going to be covered by a horrible timing cover that I hate and doesn't even accept paint in any way, shape or form. In with the alternator, can't paint you, so you just are in your chrome. But I have painted the power steering pump in orange just for a splash more of that. The oil filter also in a blue to sort of coincide with the engine. Not perfectly, but it still looks pretty good. Let's go around. We'll get the fuel filter in now because we can, and then we'll get this big old engine head on. It is in orange, but it is pretty much majority the inside, a few splashes on the outside, so it looks pretty cool still. Let's crack on. We'll get the fuel injectors in, all in orange underneath here. On you go, on you go, on you go, and on you go there. Nicely done. We'll get the camshafts in. Nice and simple. And the timing cover and stuff at the back here. So there's a cam gear, a timing chain, a secondary cam gear, and then another timing cover on the back up here. And if you forget about this one, it will annoy you because you'll get all the way to the end and realise you missed it. There we go. That's that one in and on. Then we'll go back to the front. We'll get the cam gear in. On you go. We'll get the second roller in. On you go. And then the belt, hopefully. Nicely done. And then the belt tensioner. Nice in the orange. Looking pretty cool. It does look awesome, but it is a shame. It does have to be all covered by this grey plastic timing cover that can't even be painted black, which just... if only. But never mind, we'll crack on. Crankshaft pulley, in you go. And then we've got one more belt for the front and then one more roller just in here just to get that all finished off. That is the front end all finished. Let's move over. So we've got exhaust manifold, in you go. Nice and done. And then a turbocharger on there as well, just for good measure and to give this one an extra boost of power. We'll move on up because, in fact, we'll put the intake manifold in. It can't be painted. It shows up in the paint shop, but it is just this black. But at least it is a black, and it's visibly back and looking awesome. And then the throttle on there, just in the orange, just for a splash more of that. Because, well, you can't really see much of the top of this engine once it's in. Well, the top you can see, but it's sort of like that view. So you only get a little splash of the blues and oranges. Not too bad. I'm going to crack on. I've got spark plugs to go in, and I won't forget them this time. And a lot of camshaft caps, so I'll get them done, and I'll be back in just a second. Just putting in the last camshaft cap now, and that is that all taken care of. We've just got the head cover to go on. On you go. It had to be black. It's one of them plastic parts that just doesn't take any color well at all. So it did just go in the black. Bit disappointing, but it does sort of match in with a few of the other black pieces, plus the black on the livery. So we'll get these ignition coils in, and I believe that'll be this engine all finished up. It isn't my favorite engine because, well, you can only do so much to it with the paint, which is why I did the block in a blue, so that it would show up just that little bit more. Hopefully it's going to look awesome. I'm going to grab some pictures. Oh, missed a clutch release bearing there. Good job I saw that. I'm going to grab some pictures, and then we'll get it dropped in the beautiful little Suzuki and see how good it looks. Time to get this i4 engine dropped in and see how good it looks against that body, which I think looks pretty sweet in that blue with just some tiny little livery details. Didn't go over the top with it, just a few basic images in there. Let's get you thrown in and let's see how good it looks. Again, from there, you can just see that, I mean, the black engine cover actually finishes it off rather than it being a grey plastic. As we go in a little bit further, you can see a couple of them injectors in the orange, plus the throttle in the orange there. And then just about see that engine block in the blue against the orange of the fuse box. Looking pretty sweet. Quite pleased with that one. We've got a few bits left to go, though. I've got a bit of up and down because I've got to get the gearbox in, then the starter in. So let's crack on and get over to this. Over we go. Let's start with that front exhaust section. In you go. And then the gearbox, which is in a blue. It's a lot darker. Hopefully, yeah, that should match the block pretty good. Quite pleased with that. That matches it really nicely, actually. Can't do the starter yet, so we'll come back to that one. But we will get this front drive shaft in and these front drive axles in. On you go. And then over. No, not that one. I want the over to the other side to get you in. There we go. and then we'll get that main drive shaft in. Then we'll get it on the ground, get the starter in, and see what that looks like. On we go, over we go. And then let's come out of that, and let's get you down onto the ground. Over we go, around we go. Oh, it's got a tow hook on the front bumper as well. I didn't even notice that, but let's move on around. Into here we go. And then you've got the starter just in the orange for a splash more of that orange in there. Looking pretty cool. Quite pleased with that. I'm going to crack on, get all of the liquids topped up, get some beautiful wheels done for this one. Unsure of the colour yet. And then we'll get this one outside in the sun, all finished off. Here it is then, all finished with Lit's Suzuki SX4. Looking pretty sweet, if I do say so myself. Nothing special on the livery. Checkered roof, bit of striping and a checkered pattern down the side there with some striping and checkers on the hood. Looking all right, nothing too overly special. Finished in this lovely gloss blue, which looks absolutely incredible. Carried on into the two-tone rims there with the bit of blue on the outside and the black on the inside. Across the engine, we got some blue in there with a splash of orange and a little bit of black on the top there, just for good measure. Same in the suspension. Looking pretty incredible. Quite pleased with this one. I think it looks pretty sweet. Let's talk about these rims. These are the rims 31A. I went for these because of the two-tone effect. And now I originally couldn't decide between an orange outer rim and a blue outer rim, but I'd settled on the blue. I think it looks a lot better. These are a 20-inch rim that I've put on this with a 225 width at the front and a 35 profile. Looking pretty sweet. Down at the back, they're same size as a 20-inch rim, but these are 245 width and a 35 profile. Just a little bit wider at the back for some extra push, getting that one down the track, as we have added performance parts to this beautiful little inline four-wheel drive engine. There's a lot of fours in that. Looking pretty sweet, though. Let's jump inside and check out the interior. Obviously, I've got my Nismo seats in there, and see what this little engine sounds like. Very standard interior. I wouldn't expect anything else. Very modern. Looks pretty sweet, though. Let's get you started and see how we sound. Also, the window tinting doesn't quite affect the same as it did the last build, but never mind. Start the engine. That's got a nice little tick over to it. Nothing overly special. Let's give it some gas. And there that is. That lovely little turbo whistle at the top end. One of my favourite features in this game. But let's get this one over to the dyno and see what power it's got today. Here we are then on the dyno with the 308 horsepower inline 4 double overhead cam, a 4x4 engine in the Suzuki SX4. Still too many fours. We've added performance parts today. How much power have we added to this one? Let's have a look. A gain of 218 horsepower, 71% increase. That's pretty good in a four-wheel drive car, bringing our measured horsepower up to 525 horsepower. That's pretty good. We should get this one over to the track. Before we do that, here is the gearbox tuning setup for today. I've gone for a 3.95 ratio. 7 gears. I added 2 extra gears to this one, up to 387 in top gear. I don't think we'll quite get there, but I'll be happy 300 to 350. But let's head over to the track and see what she'll actually get. Here we are then on the speed track with our little Suzuki SX4, looking a pretty sweet four-wheel drive, ready to tackle this. But let's jump in and let's see how fast we can get this one down the end of the runway. Off we go. It is four-wheel drive, so it will get off the line relatively easy. That's pretty good acceleration, up to 150 kilometers an hour already, splashing towards 200. There we go. Are we going to hit into the 300 as I was hoping for? Aiming towards the 350 mark, but I don't know if we'll quite make it that far. But if we can get over 300, I'll definitely be happy. Come on, little Suzuki, you can do it. 280. Come on, 290. A little bit further. There's the 300. Where are we going to end up? 4, 5, 6, 7. That definitely ticked over to 307. So 307 kilometers an hour from the little Suzuki SX4. 307 kilometers an hour from the little Suzuki SX4. Not bad at all. 124th in the speeder board out of 147 cars, so not too bad at all. Very pleased with that. This mod is absolutely great. Well done to Lit. Link in the description below if you want to grab this one yourself to play around with. Loving the little blue trim on the wheels there, with all the blue and orange and splashes of black going on in the suspension and engine. I think it looks absolutely incredible. I am very, very pleased with this one. But we do have to say goodbye. We have to get rid of this one. Let's see if we can make a profit from this one in the facts and figures then. I bought the car for 17,622, and if you stuck around for long enough at the beginning, you would have seen that I lost out on 3,771 before we even started, but since then, we have turned this car around by spending an additional 49,439 on this one, pitting our total spend to 67,061. But she does look good. I am very pleased with this one. I think it looks absolutely incredible. What do you guys think? Do let me know in the comments below. Can we make a profit out of this one though? Let's jump in. Let's find out. Straight onto that screen, why not? 79,804 is the sale price for this one. Take away our 67,061, which is our total spend. Leaves us with a profit of 12,743. Pretty damn good. Very pleased with that. Obviously, we did increase the horsepower on the engine by 71% up to 525, and it is now all 100% complete. Looking absolutely fantastic. I do absolutely love this one, and I just need to say right now, a very, very big thank you to everybody who has supported this channel for the past almost a year now. 250 subscribers. We just reached it today while I was recording. So the next episode is going to be a little bit special. We are going to say goodbye to this one really quickly. I'm going to move a few things around, get it set up so that we can see some of the things we will be working on the next episode. So it is time to say goodbye to our lovely little Suzuki SX4. Off you go. Cushy little 12,743 profit. You are gone. I'm going to jump back inside. Then we're going to move a few things around. We're going to get some different cars out here, some different cars on the lift, and I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. So here we are then. We finished the beautiful SX4 Suzuki, and obviously we hit 250 subscribers, so this is what we're going to be going through next time. I've got my bolt cape out. I've made some amendments to the config so that it's better than it was before. It did get ruined a little bit when they brought in the drag configs. It did move this around. It messed around with my config, so I had to remake it. Still had the base model, just had to move it around a little bit and remake it. As you can see, the wheels are no longer the correct color and things like that. But there are some improvements to this one, and there is also going to be an improvement to this beautiful livery, courtesy of my good friend French Toast. Thank you for that, French Toast. I cannot wait to see what you come up with. Not long left to go now. This one will be out on Friday, so going to be doing a little bit to this one for definite. This one here, we are desperately trying to get this gasser build onto the speeder board. So we're going to go through this one, change out all of the performance parts, 3-star them all, and let's see if that can change it. If not, we will go in and amend the config file a little bit more. I'm desperate to get this one onto the speeder board. It would be absolutely incredible if we could. So there's two we're definitely going to be working on. Let's head outside. Out here, we've got this. This was the 100 subscriber livery. Absolutely fantastic. Love this one. Sorry, not 100 subscribers. This was the 100 videos for my 100th video. So we've got two liveries for this one. So we are going to change this one to the rusted Ratlook patina one, which could be pretty sweet. I'm looking forward to that. See what that turns out like. And then over here, who remembers this one? This is an old school build. This is the Atom 3300. One of the first configs I made. Not quite the first, but one of the first. Since then, everything is on it as it was. It's missing the spoiler that was on there. We've changed that a little bit. We've got that beautiful engine in there with all the performance parts. This is quite a powerful little beast, but we've got a few body adjustments that we can make to this one, courtesy of one of my good friends, Multi. Thank you for letting me have the bits for this. We will see all of that next time, and there is room for one more car. So I'm going to leave that one down to you. That's 4 that we're definitely going to be playing around with next time. The next one is up to you. There is a list of cars I have kept. I'm going to get them ready to go on screen just now. We're going to head over to the parking garage and take a quick look just at the list. I'm not going to show them all individually. I want you to pick one from this list and then decide what is the 5th car and what we're going to do with it next time. So let's jump over. Let's take a look at that. Here we go then. Just a very, very quick run through of the selection of cars to pick from in my parking garage. So we got the stanced Volkswagen Beetle slammed to the floor in a lovely red. We've got the copper Ford truck resto mod, which is pretty sweet. We've got the first electric Mustang we did, the 1969 model. We've got my version of the FMW Panther Mark 1, the Salem 1500 slammed edition, the dream car. Nothing's going to change on that one, so there's no point even selecting that one. We got the Volkswagen, the Virtual Mechanic edition of the Supernova. We've got the VM edition, which is the monster truck Ribson Starline. We've got the slammed Ford F100 Then we've got the Virtual Mechanic Edition category Tomago. Back another page, we've got the experimental RTR Mustang in there as well. Then we've got the Virtual Mechanic Edition of this, which is the Toyota GT86 with a half and half livery, orange and black. My very first config, which is the Nissan 370Z and Nismo. Then we've got the Queen's Land Rover Defender, nothing's going to happen to that. And also my chop van, the Volkswagen, the Bolt Cargo. I keep wanting to say Volkswagen for some reason. Virtual Mechanic Edition. So pick from one of these if you can. You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm sure I can find something to add in there just for good measure. But that is the list we're going to be going from. These are definitely getting some little upgrades for definite over there and over there. And then one more slot for you guys to pick. Interested to see what you've got. Thank you so much for watching for today's video. Thank you so much for all of you for subscribing, watching, liking, commenting, anything you can. It really does help this channel out. I am trying to get it to grow. I'd love to be able to make money from this someday in the very near future. Fingers crossed. So thank you all for that. Again, hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you had a wonderful, wonderful day, whatever you got up to. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.